Today, the Wall Street Journal published an interview that they conducted with technically Vice President JD Vance, and it's attracted a lot of controversy. See, in this interview, they claim that JD Vance told them the United States could potentially put boots on the ground in Ukraine to help fight off Russia. Now, in response, Vance has said that he would never even suggest the possibility of such a thing, and thus the Journal has misrepresented his comments, and thus they will probably be banned from the White House and maybe have their licenses revoked. But okay, so they're saying he said it. He's saying he would never even suggest it. Well, why don't we dive into the actual interview, because we have the actual text of it. So first of all, here's the headline that sort of generated the controversy. Vance wields threat of sanctions, military action to push Putin into Ukraine deal. Which, look, I'm super biased and I have Trump derangement syndrome. I feel like that gives Trump way too much credit. But he had a problem with it, JD Vance did. So here is the paragraph of that Vance had an issue with. It says, and this is the Wall Street Journal, Vance said the option of sending US troops to Ukraine if Moscow failed to negotiate in good faith remained, quote, on the table, striking a far tougher tone than did Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who on Wednesday suggested the US wouldn't commit forces. Okay, so there were multiple advisors to Vance as well as communications director that pushed back and said that's inaccurate. He would never even suggest that again. So here's what it actually says. Question, and is there a sense as to what this is the stick for Putin? I mean, obviously any kind of deal would have to entail an implicit threat that you have to stick to this or you have to even sign on the dotted line. Are there any, Vance cuts in, well, are there any instruments of pressure that you're thinking of? And he said, I think certainly, look, there are instruments of pressure, absolutely. And again, if you look at President Trump's approach to this, the range of options is extremely broad. And there are economic tools of leverage. There are, of course, military tools of leverage. There's a whole host of things that we could do. But fundamentally, I think the president wants to have a productive negotiation, both with Putin and with Zelensky. And I want to thank the vice president for mentioning Zelensky. I know that took some extra effort on his part in this. So anyway, they go back around and the question is, so just want to make sure I understand you correctly. You're saying that even though the possibility of a Ukraine NATO ascension at the end of this process, or even the presence of US troops in Ukraine is not officially off the table. And Vance said, I think the president has been very clear that he doesn't like the idea of moving Ukraine into NATO. So he responded to one of the things in the question, he declined to respond to the other. They say, sure, he says, okay, he's been very clear. Question, there's no question about that. And he says, I also think the president is very clear that whenever he walks into negotiation, everything is on the table. Everything is on the table. So again, he said it's inaccurate. I would never even suggest such a thing. He declined an opportunity to shoot it down and then reiterated everything is on the table. So look, I think if the Wall Street Journal had said, he said we are gonna put boots in, you can't put those words in his mouth. But he definitely didn't shoot it down. And in the extended interview, they go on to talk about Gaza and Trump's plan to conquer it and banish 2 million people from it or whatever. And there, Vance did specifically say, we're not gonna put troops on the ground there, which I don't believe, but it shows that he at least can make that claim, whether it's true or not, which he did for Gaza, but he did not do for Ukraine. So I personally think that, I don't know, I think he's protesting too much.
Okay, I don't know if this is gonna surprise you guys, but I think that they should threaten boots on the ground. Now, do I want boots on the ground in Ukraine? Hell no, I'm 100% against it. That's nuts, right? But why threaten it? Because God, we need some sort of leverage. And Trump is crazy enough not for Putin to think, yeah, he's really gonna put boots on the ground or he's gonna get into a war with Russia. But it's Trump, maybe there's a 5 or 10% chance. That's not so bad. It creates a tiny bit of leverage, right? So Hegseth made a terrible mistake by saying they're not getting into NATO and they have to concede the land, because then you've given away all of your leverage. So I don't mind Vance trying to claw back some leverage here. I would mind it greatly if they actually did it, right? But in the beginning, for negotiation purposes, I don't think it's that bad. But I do agree with you that he's full of crap denying it. It's clear, there it is, very clear quotes.
Yeah, that all the options are there. The other thing is, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Trump to somehow communicate to Putin that, look, we're not gonna put troops on the ground, but I'm gonna say we're gonna put troops on the ground because it gives me public leverage, and it makes people think that I'm being tougher, because he's going to defer to Putin here. He already has, and they're already minimizing, as John alluded to, Zelensky's participation here. The other side of it is, it just shows you how difficult it is to both be a secretary in Donald Trump's cabinet and especially his vice president, because when there is no clear policy and there is no clear directive and there is no real plan for any of it, and you are asked, as the vice president was asked by the Wall Street Journal, to talk about what the policy could be, you don't know, because it doesn't really exist. It's so fly by the seat of your pants. It becomes a very, so you get one thing from Hegseth here, you get one thing from Vance, and Trump doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So I think there's when you read this stuff, you understand why it is a frustrating. I don't pity these people, but it's a frustrating place to be when you typically a vice president walks in lockstep with whatever the president is, and they know, because there's outlined policy. If the mistakes are made, they're mistakes that are made on timing or location or chronology, but it has nothing to do with just being off the same page with each other.
Well, I'll just say two quick things about that. One is that, but on the other hand, they're held to a lower standard, because at this point the expectations have shifted. So if Vance gets it wrong or says something that the president doesn't agree with, that's Tuesday. No one cares anymore, right? Like in the old days.
No one cared no one cared when he. That's what I know what you're saying.
Yeah, like when Biden said that he was in favor of legalizing gay marriage when he was the vice president, that was a huge deal, because the vice president was getting out ahead of the president, right? Now, that's Tuesday. Vance said this, Trump said this, Vance said this, Trump said this, Hegseth said the other thing. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. So hence, they're not blaming Vance too much, and I get that. I think that's pretty fair, because the main problem is Trump, and Trump's policy positions are kind of like physics. In physics, you realize that things are always in motion. They're not stationary. It's a wave, right? And it's never in one place at the same time when you get down at the molecular level, right? Atomic level. And that's how Trump's policy positions are. They don't exist. When you look under the microscope, it's a wave, right? Yeah. It's here, it's there, it's here, it's there, it's here, it's there. It looks like it's stationary. It's not, because he has no idea what he's doing. And he's gonna make the decision at the last second based on whatever happened earlier and whoever was last in the room.
Wow. I don't know what's happened. Now at the table, I'm the jock, and you're making analogies to waves and particles and physics, nerd. But I do like it. It is true. Yeah.
And now I know what you've felt like for so many years. Because
I still kind of do. Yeah. Also, I think that we should go a little bit easy on Hegseth. Like, we don't know for sure if he's echoing what he thinks he heard Trump say in a conversation, or if it's Hegseth's own position, or if it's the gin talking. We can't say for sure what any particular comment has as its origin.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.